In a quiet Nigerian village surrounded by red earth roads and tall palm trees, there lived a young orphaned girl named Adaeze. She was known for two things: her beauty and her mind. Adaeze lost both her parents when she was still very young. She was raised by an elderly woman in the village, a widow who had no obligation to her by blood, but chose her anyway. Adaeze called her Mama, not because she had to, but because love made it so. Life in the village was not easy. She woke before sunrise, walked long distances to fetch water, worked on a small farm, and studied at night under a weak lantern that flickered like it might give up at any moment. Sometimes it almost did, but Adaeze never did. Still, there were nights she wondered if effort was enough, or if the world had already decided how far she was allowed to go. Then everything changed. A scholarship letter arrived. At first, she thought it was a mistake, but it wasn't. The whole village gathered the day she left. Some came out of pride, some out of doubt, and some just to see if she would really make it. Mama held her hands tightly. "Go," she said softly, "and don't come back the same." Adaeze nodded, but inside, she was afraid. The city was nothing like home. It was fast, loud, unforgiving. Tall buildings replaced palm trees. Strangers filled every street. Nobody knew her name, and nobody cared to. For the first time in her life, Adaeze felt small. School was harder than anything she had ever faced. And then she failed her first exam. The girl who was once called the smartest in her village was suddenly not enough. That night, she sat alone in silence. Maybe this is where it ends, she thought. Maybe I was never meant for more, but going back meant defeat. So she made a decision. She stayed, and she fought. Tobi was everything Adaeze was not. Loud, carefree, always surrounded by people, known for jokes, charm, and never taking anything seriously. When he first noticed Adaeze, it was because she didn't notice him at all. No smile, no reaction, just focus. It confused him. So he approached her, casual, confident, expecting attention. But Adaeze looked at him once and said, "If you're not here to study, you're wasting both our time." No one had ever spoken to Tobi like that. At first, he laughed it off, but something about her stayed in his mind. He started showing up again, not for attention anymore, but curiosity, then something deeper. For the first time, he saw someone who wasn't pretending, someone who was building her future, one silent sacrifice at a time. And slowly, he changed. But life doesn't stop testing people just because they are trying. Adaeze received a call from the village. Mama was sick, not weak, not tired, sick, serious. Adaeze didn't have the money to go home immediately. Her exams were close, and leaving could ruin everything she had worked for. That night, she broke down, completely. "I can't do this," she whispered. "I can't lose her too." Tobi saw her like that. Not strong, not composed, just human. For once, he didn't walk away. He helped her. He made sure she got home, made sure she had what she needed, made sure she didn't lose everything she was fighting for. Not perfectly, but sincerely. And that was the beginning of something real. Over time, trust grew. Not quickly, not easily, but honestly. They studied together, failed together, got back up together, and slowly, Adaeze stopped seeing him as a distraction and started seeing him as someone who stayed. Years passed. Adaeze kept going, even when it was hard, even when she doubted herself again. She did not stop, and eventually, she became a doctor, not by luck, but by endurance. Tobi changed too. He became focused, intentional, grounded. He built something for himself, not out of pressure, but purpose. He was not perfect, but he was no longer running. Years later, Adaeze returned to her village, but she did not return empty-handed. She built a clinic, a place where people no longer had to walk miles for help, a place where life had a better chance. Mama stood in front of it, tears in her eyes, not because of the building, but because of what it meant. The girl she once raised with nothing had returned with something that changed everything. You didn't just leave, Mama said softly. You came back bigger. Adaeze held her hand. I came back ready. Tobi stood beside her that evening as the sun set over the red earth. He looked at her quietly and smiled. You really changed everything, he said. Adaeze shook her head gently. No, she replied. I just refused to stay where life placed me. And for the first time, the village that once watched her leave finally understood what she was meant to become.